A Chevy truck. But me and my buddies want to get away on a rough, tough expedition. What works for us is my rough, tough sport truck, Chevy S10 Maxi Cab. It's got room for all our survival gear, and more room inside than any compact pickup ever.
So bring on the wild, bring on the mouse.
There's nothing like roughing it. Hey, if it doesn't fit my S10, it doesn't fit my life.
Nothing works like a Chevy truck.
Nothing.
In college basketball tonight at the Rosemont Horizon, the Loyola Ramblers will take on the North Carolina State Wolfpack. That game starts at 7:30. Loyola is 0-2. North Carolina State is 2-0. Up in DeKalb, the DePaul Blue Demons will open the season. They'll face the Northern Illinois Huskies. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, the Ray Myers Show, the coach and I will talk about tonight's game, and we'll take it apart as only the coach knows how. Meanwhile, the Fighting Illini will face Oklahoma tonight for the championship of a Thanksgiving Classic in Honolulu, Hawaii. Lowell Hamilton scored 14 points last night. He's the young man from Providence St. Mel, a freshman playing for Lou Henson. And Illinois 72, Hawaii Loa 45. The team they'll play, Oklahoma, beat Marshall last night 81-70. Let's take a look at college basketball from last night. A great early season matchup for the Duke Blue Devils against the St. John's Redmen. And it was Walter Berry having his best day in the college ranks. 35 points as they played tough the whole way. Watch the All-American guard, Johnny Dawkins. He'll go in for the layup. He will miss it on a great attempt. But a teammate's right there to squeeze it on in. Louis Carnesecca says he doesn't need the sweater back this year, but he does need Chris Mullen at guard for him. 21 seconds left in this contest. Duke with the ball. Here's Dawkins outside. Yes! And the Duke Blue Devils go up ahead 71-70. Redmen have a chance to win it, but Mark Jackson misses the shot, and Duke wins by a point over St. John's. In another of the Alaska shootout games, way up in Anchorage, the Tar Heels of North Carolina, ranked either first or second, depending on the poll you watch, took on the Missouri Tigers. Here's Kenny Smith down the middle of Monster Slam, 84-63, and North Carolina wins, keeping Dean Smith happy. In the third of that great Alaska shootout contest last night, the Running Rebels faced the defending champion Villanova Wildcats, who were decimated by graduation to Stan Jones for UNLV with a big slam. That'll make the highlight reels. The Rebs win by 22. Now checking high school scores. Simeon last night all over Calumet. Westinghouse whipped Schurz, and Gordon Tech by 20 over Waukegan West. Providence St. Mel will make Lowell Hamilton proud. They beat Oak Park last night. Rich Central over Eisenhower, Blue Island Eisenhower, and Downers Grove 60, Timothy Catholic 43. Well, the college football regular season is winding up to a close, and there are a number of conference races up for grabs. Now that means lucrative bowl games for a few. One of the chosen few, the University of Tennessee. They need a win today over Vanderbilt to win the Southeast Conference title outright and a trip to the Sugar Bowl. It looks like they're not having much trouble down at Neyland Stadium. 93,000 on hand. Volunteers are wasting no time. Here's Darrell Dickey to Eric Swanson. Catches it at the 9 and goes in for the touchdown. 6 points. The Volunteers led 17-0 right there in the first period. And now at halftime it stands Tennessee update 27 for Tennessee and Vanderbilt nothing. That is at halftime. And we'll be back in just a moment.
Final sale. For one day only this Sunday, Collectors Art returns to the Chicago area for their final art sale before Christmas. Over 3,000 beautiful oil paintings to be sold out at $29 or less. Giant super-size oils, $29. Incredible. Plus hundreds of gallery oils like you see here at a fraction of their retail value. This Sunday only, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. in Arlington Heights at the Arlington Park Hilton. In Oak Brook Terrace at the Holiday Inn. In Oak Lawn at the Hilton. In Skokie at the Holiday Inn. In Homewood at the Sheridan. In Waukegan at the Sheridan. In Naperville at the Sheridan. And in Maryville, Indiana at the Holiday Plaza.
Polo isn't just a game. It's a tradition, a way of life. One that is captured by Ralph Lauren in his clothing and in Polo, Ralph Lauren's sporting scent for men. Now you can go everywhere with the versatile Polo Classic Suitor. This generously sized garment bag with a deep, roomy outside pocket and adjustable shoulder strap, just $22.50 with any Polo fragrance purchase of $16 or more. Available at Lord & Taylor.
Well, in college basketball in Springfield, Massachusetts, the Tip-Off Classic, the Hall of Fame game, featuring #1 Georgia Tech with John Sally and Mark Price, they're All-Americans, and Bruce Dalrymple, their All-American guard, up against the Michigan Wolverines, Richard Relford, Antoine Jobert, Gary Grant, and all that group. And Michigan has the lead by 2 points over Georgia Tech. They are midway through the first period at the Springfield Civic Center in Springfield, Massachusetts. The halftime report continues here now. Auburn and Alabama will hook up in about 2 hours from now. here on Channel 7. Now, of course, if Tennessee can win, it's meaningless for Auburn and Alabama. If Tennessee loses, then the SEC championship will go to the winner of one of those two teams, Alabama or Auburn. But let's go back to high school football now and Soldier Field, where Tim and Mike and Dennis Green are standing by live. 14-7, Lane Tech leading Mount Carmel. Gentlemen, it's all yours.
All right, JR, looking mighty slick as always, and we're feeling pretty slick out here, too, with a 14-7 football game, and really everything we could have asked for, Mike.
That's right. Mount Carmel, the favorite here, but Lane Tech leading this game 14-7, and right now, Dennis Green is on the sidelines with Mount Carmel coach Frank Lenti. Dennis?
Tim and Mike, I've got Coach here. Coach, an outstanding first half on both teams, but what do you think it's going to take for you to get back in there and get that 7 points you need to make up?
I'll tell you what, Dennis, our 3-week layoff has shown greatly here in the first half. We're a little lax. We're not tackling. We're not blocking as crisply as we were at the end of the season. All we've got to do is tune up our assignments and get ourselves mentally in tune to play 24 minutes of great Mount Carmel football.
Well, the first half, you showed that explosiveness offensively and the big play defense capability, so now it's just a matter of getting back in the groove, you feel.
Right, exactly. Like I said, you know, we've only been hitting each other for 3 weeks, and Lane Tech has been playing people steadily right along, and they show a little bit of sharpness and crispness that we're not showing at this present time. And that's what we talked about is at halftime, is we have to come out and play 24 minutes of Mount Carmel football. We have to play intense, and we have to play consistent.
Okay, Coach, thank you. Good luck in the second half.
You're welcome, Dennis. Thank you.
Okay, well, I tell you, it's going to be an exciting second half. I think Coach Lenti said it just right. You know, Mount Carmel has been out of the playoffs for a long time because they won it so early, and it really has been a factor. But I think when we look at the explosiveness of their football team, a 7-point deficit is really not that much. Tim and Mike, up to you.
Well, you're absolutely right, Dennis. 7 points is nothing, as we've seen in this game. Let's take a look at some of the highlights, Mike, and we'll just show you how quickly 7 points can appear on the scoreboard. A couple of times Lane Tech appeared to be completely stopped by their own mistakes, and here 3rd and long. I'm sorry, this is the first play of the game.
51 yards to number 27, Ray Kalma. He breaks it down the sidelines before being knocked out of bounds, and it set up the first touchdown. Now, Lane Tech had got driven all the way back out to about the 30-yard line, but watch what happens here on the pitch. This time to Chris Spade. He goes all the way down to the one. After this play, they got knocked all the way back, and then they got a gift here. He's looking for Kalma. It is tipped by Terry Ward right into the hands of Milanovan Popovic, and that was the first Lane Tech touchdown. James Washington got one back for Mount Carmel to make it 7-7 on that short inside slant. And then watch here. This was a critical mistake here. Mike Dankel, the quarterback, probably should not have pitched the ball, and it gave Lane Tech field position, good field position. Here comes the inside reverse to Popovic, and he does it all. 29 yards for a score, a great piece of individual running, and that's how we stand at 14-7, Timmy.
Dennis Green, if you're still around and you can hear us, so I'm interested in his reaction as we go out for the second half coin flip. Dennis, do you think Popovic has big-time capabilities, or is his speed going to be a problem?
But I tell you what he does. He can make the key plays, and I think there are a lot of people that are going to be watching him now simply because, you know, going into the game in the beginning of the season, he did not have that many outstanding plays, but the playoffs, he's probably been one of their most valuable players. He really can be a factor.
I agree with him. I think that that's an interesting point. Obviously, Milanovan Popovic is a money player. When stuff's on the line, he produces. Those are the statistics, and they couldn't be too much more even. Little disparity in the rushing yardage for Lane Tech. Popovic got a lot of them on that 30-yard touchdown run. Matter of fact, that's the difference, those 30 yards.
We talked about Popovic doing well in the playoffs, and now in 7 playoff games, he has caught 10 touchdown passes, scored another on a run. You look at some of the rushing, too, that Popovic, that 29 yards all on one run. Chris Spade, who really kind of is their second leading rusher there behind Don Cochran. He chipped in with 17 yards, but a lot of them were very key. And, of course, Ray Kalma has got 2 receptions, too, so they can't, Mount Carmel cannot just concentrate on Popovic.
Carmel's done a good job of stopping Cochran, and Lane has done a pretty good job on Washington, too. He's generally accustomed, Mike, to picking up more yardage than that, and I think, by and large, they've done a fairly good job of keeping Callaway contained.
Well, if that's one of the keys, certainly they have 2 great wide receivers with speed, Callaway and Nate Turner, also number 85. Callaway has seen some double coverage this afternoon, but a couple times he was open, and Danko just couldn't get him the ball because of intense Lane Tech pressure.
Well, I'm sure that you echo my feelings here. I'm real happy to be here. I mean, this is really a nice situation. The crowd is not exactly what would you call overflowing, but it's healthy. And the people are out here to watch their favorite teams.
Well, as we mentioned before, Tim, maybe somehow, some way, the state can come up with an idea to incorporate the Prep Bowl as part of the state playoff system, and that, in turn, would generate renewed interest in this game as it should be.
Well, high school sports, like anything else, there are politics involved, whether it's racing, whether it's just plain old, banking, whatever. The businesses involve some politics, and there are some politics that would prevent perhaps something like that happening, but it would be nice to see.
Well, Tim and Mike, I tell you, even though there's not a lot of people here, you can feel the electricity on the sidelines, particularly over here on this side with Lane Tech. This is a chance for them to have that public league upset. Two great traditions, as we mentioned before. Lane Tech, the north side power. Mount Carmel, the parochial school south side power. I tell you, both teams want this game very badly. It's what high school sports is all about.
I agree, Dennis. There's no question the desire is really intense on both sides. A great deal of bragging rights go along with winning this game. Besides the Catholic Public League issue, the North-South issue, just your doggone team pride. Mount Carmel has got tremendous tradition, and so does Lane.
Tim, we're set for the second half kickoff. Chris Calloway will receive for the Caravan back at his 10-yard line. Cochran with the kick. It's end over end, and again, Calloway lets it go over his head.
I'm sure Lane Tech is very delighted to see that happen. They would not want Calloway with the ball in a big field in front of him. Cochran has a pretty good leg for a guy who doesn't really pride himself in being, a kicker.
Well, that's what's surprising, that Lane Tech doesn't attempt field goals because it is strong. Maybe one of the problems, he doesn't get a lot of height on the ball.
He apparently is a line drive kicker, but he's found the end zone, what, 3 times now?
3 times.
Holy cow, lighten up, Mr. Cochran. He's got to make up for the fact that Mount Carmel defense has been keying on him. He really hasn't had a lot of room to run. He's 6'1", 220, a very strong running back. Right now, it's the Mount Carmel offense trying to do something about that 14-7 deficit. They see Bill Garrett, the strong linebacker for Lane Tech, and he's involved in the tackle just as we key on him. Lance Bonner with the carry. Picked up close to 3 or 4 yards on the play. And Carmel's going to be looking now at its 2nd and 7. See Garrett getting the defensive signals from the sidelines. Even freshman football on a B level, coaches are flashing in the signals. And I know I sound like a broken record, but the sophistication that has come to high school football is really staggering. These guys spend hours and hours and hours and days and weeks getting themselves ready for this moment. And there's a nice pass up the middle to the tight end for Lane Tech. Tight end for the Mount Carmel Caravan, Mike Dilger, and A.J. Wackel will help make the stop.
Again, the little quick inside fake to James Washington, number 42. Danko pulls it out of his belly. Or actually, number 33, DeMar White. Danko pulled it out of his belly and jumped up top and hit Dilger. 1st and 10 for Mount Carmel at their own 36-yard line.
Another fake inside by Danko. He's going long. This time he's got his receiver out there. It's Calloway. It's a foot race, and Calloway is going to win it. No, he's pulled down by Brian Aranza, number 11 against number 11.
Well, you got to give some credit to Brian Aranza. You see him limping there. He got beat on this coverage here. Simply one-on-one. Calloway outraced him, but he saved a touchdown. Callaway's 5th reception of the afternoon. He turned it on. I thought he'd run away from him.
Mike, that is a great play by Aranza, because, every time you can stop him, even if it's on the 1-inch line, you got to set him up and line him up all over again, and anything can happen. We saw Lane with a 1st and goal on the 1, and they wound up back on their own 20.
One thing you won't see is the option here.
No, you're right. It's a straight handoff up in the middle of the Lane Tech defense. Lance Bonner got the call. Scott Majeski and Bart Kirkwood on the stop. Appear to have stopped him short.
One of the Mount Carmel running backs moved on the play. Illegal procedure.
Well, that's just what we're talking about. If you stop them, they make a mistake like that, and now they're forced back just as Lane was forced back early on in the game. I don't see Washington out there now, the big running back for Mount Carmel.
And now is number 33, DeMar White. Danko gets the play from Coach Frank Lenti on the sidelines, and Caravan has been pushed back now to the 6-yard line. Washington a little
We'll have to find out. Maybe Coach Green can find out if he's hurt or just fallen into disfavor or what. But he of course, is the guy who scored the first touchdown for Mount Carmel and would figure to be in there in a short yardage situation. It's a draw play, and then once again, DeMar White is stopped by Ruben Casillas.
And number 52, Hovik Vartanian. He's just come into the game, 6-footer, 220 pounds. Nice play.
Hovik Vartanian. You know, if you go down the Lane Tech lineup, you could have a little United Nations action. Yeah,
Popovich and Vartanian.
Salinas and Aranza and Vartanian.
Yugoslavia, Greek, Spain.
Yeah, Popovich. It's wonderful. That's why. Pardon me for waxing corny, but I would rather live in Chicago than any place in the world, just because the great melting pot that it is. Let's see if Mount Carmel can melt it into the end zone. Right now they're facing a rough situation. Over the middle, he's open. Cannot catch the ball. Melvin Johnson, wide receiver, covered by Derek Faulkner. He was open as he broke across the middle.
Mike Danko had him all the way. He was eyeing him, just a little slant pattern across the middle. Ball thrown a little bit low, but definitely a catchable ball. Melvin Johnson just couldn't hang on to it, so now it's 3rd down for Mount Carmel, and about 10 yards to go.
See, Melvin's a pretty big kid, 6'4", 180. Wide receiver number 1. Now Carmel is going in with him flanked to the bottom of your screen. Situation. Danko looking over. Nice catch by Chris Callaway. Chris Spade was on the coverage, but there's the big-time ball player, Mike, watching it all the way.
Well, Callaway had the advantage on the play there because he knows where the ball's going. The defender, Chris Spade, does not. His back was turned. Callaway makes a beautiful adjustment on the ball, turns around, pulls it in, touchdown Mount Carmel, and if the extra point is good, it's going to be all tied up in a nice toss, I might add, by Mike Danko, number 7, the Caravan quarterback.
Dennis, what's going on?
Well, I tell you, that's why Chris Callaway is probably the top receiver in the Chicago area, that at least as a senior, the ability to make 2 key plays when the second half just starts, fresh into the second half, big plays out there.
Well, he sure did, and he's got his Caravan team right back in. IHSFCA missed the extra point, though, and it's 14-13. Lane Tech fired up as they managed to hang on to a 1-point lead. Well, we've seen great individual performances, we've seen great team performances, and we still have 9 minutes and 49 seconds to go in this football game. Lots more to come.
What's the fun of being born a girl? Brothers seem to think they own.
Come on, you guys, step on it.
We'll be right there. Here we are.
Wow, is that you?
Boy, you're beautiful.
We've got a taste.
Save a Coke for me, you guys.
Every winter day, a ritual takes place in homes, bundling up kids to go outside. But no amount of bundling can stop the cold completely. That's why there's Malt-O-Meal hot cereal, double flavored with wheat and malt to taste great and help keep kids warm on the inside.
I think I need some more Malt-O-Meal.
Bundle up on the inside with Malt-O-Meal hot cereal.
Lane Tech leads Mount Carmel 14-13. The Caravan got back in the game, but missed the extra point here. Mike IHSFCA's kick is wide to the right, and a tough break for the Caravan. They trail by 1 now, here with 9:49 to go in the 3rd quarter of this annual Prep Bowl.
Well, Dennis, it's as you predicted. It's a dogfight.
The pro goalpost and not high school or college. Had that been a high school or college goalpost, that kick would have been good, and the score would be 14-14.
That's a very interesting point. If we're playing on a normal high school field, it's a tie game. That just goes to show. Incidentally, the wrappings around those goalposts say the blitz on the mic, so you know that's they don't want to wreck the bear markers. Here goes Popovich on the same kickoff return he took back for good yardage before. This time he's nailed by Bill Nolan, who's been a fine football player all day long, stopping Popovich on about the 19-yard line. You know, I never stopped to think about that. Those are more narrow goalposts, and that's a heck of a break.
If you look at the Caravan scoring drive, 6 plays, 80 yards, and of course decoy. Does a lot of faking into the line, and that has allowed Les O'Hara and some of the Lane Tech receivers to get open this afternoon.
Well, that's right, Mike, and that's why he's been so valuable. Mount Carmel's had to respect his presence, and that has opened up the outside game a bit, as Sam Bronswck told Dennis Green at the end of the first half. Here's O'Hara going long. He's got a receiver out there, and he dropped the ball, went right through his hands. Carlos Gaudin was covered by Terry Ward. Terry Ward making a fine defensive play.
I'm not so sure that Mount Carmel might not have blown the coverage on that play, because Gaudin was wide open. So now go down to Dennis Green on the sidelines. He's got an injury update. Dennis?
Well, I tell you, it's interesting. There are 3 starters now from Mount Carmel not in the game. Mike Murray, of course, hurt his ankle early in the game, but also Washington and Turner, 2 key big play men, are not able to play right now. They might be back. One has a hamstring and the other has an ankle.
Well, we figured there had to be something wrong with Washington not in there. Here's O'Hara under pressure. Deep down the field, the ball is tipped and bounces away. Perjanik was in on the coverage.
Intended for Milanovic Popovic, and sometimes quarterbacks get in a habit, maybe a bad habit, of going to a guy too many times. That time Popovic was well covered by the Caravan, and it resulted in a pass broken up. So now Lane Tech will have to punt. Don Cochran will do the chores. He is standing at his own 6-yard line. 8:33 remaining here in the third quarter. 14-13 in favor of Lane Tech. Chris Calloway is back deep, or rather, yes, Chris Calloway. He'll take it. Actually, the short man takes it.
Yeah, DeMar White with the fair catch.
33 with the fair catch. But they've got field position inside Lane Tech territory. So we'll see what happens now that Lane Tech's big people like Turner, 85, and number 42, the running back, James Washington, are out of the game, as Dennis Green mentioned.
Even with them missing, I'm sure Coach Frank Lenti feels good about his situation right now. He has managed to tie the game, and he's probably convinced, Mike, the longer they play, the better off they're going to be. Since they had that 3-week layoff, the team seems to have worked out a lot of the kinks that they experienced earlier on the action.
And no matter how much you practice during the week, even if they practiced every day, it's still not game conditions, and that's what they've done this afternoon anyway. They're getting
right. Practice takes you to a certain point, and then after that, you got to start hitting other people instead of your own teammates. Well, here's Danko looking to hit a receiver, and he in turn is hit. A beautiful job by number 68 for Lane Tech.
Bart Kirkwood, number 68.
Great job.
He comes out of the little Mike Zopko mold. He's only 5'6", weighs 170 pounds.
Oh, my goodness, what a fine play. Let's look in the middle of the picture there, and he simply sheds the block of the Mount Carmel center, and he's got Danko, and he's got a big sack.
He's going against a guy who weighs 30 pounds more than him, Tom Mullen, second-team All-Catholic League player.
A fine center, too, 6 feet 206. All right, second down, and 19 to go, and the ball is on Mount Carmel's own 43. A great big play on first down for the Lane Tech defense. Here's Danko with a shovel pass up the middle to DeMar White's got a lot of running room. He's working into the clear. He's got one guy to beat. It's O'Hara. O'Hara and DeMar White, who apparently stepped out of bounds just before he got into the end zone on about the 6-yard line. A big, big breaking run for number 33, DeMar White.
Well, Coach Frank Lenti told me before the game that he was going to run this play. He signals it in, and there it is, the little shuffle underneath. Danko shovels it to DeMar White. He breaks across the field, which makes it tough. And here's O'Hara, Mr. Everything. He was in a nickel situation and was able to run him down.
And once again, making a critical tackle. Now you got to line them all up again, and you got 6 yards to pick up before you got a touchdown. DeMar White picking up 52 yards on that carry, filling in very ably, I might add, Mike, for James Washington, who is out with an ankle injury right now. Here's Calloway in motion. Danko with a give up the middle. Touchdown! Lance Bonner right through the middle of the Lane Tech defense. And it's now 19-14. Mount Carmel surges into the lead. Mike, does it happen sometimes after the great big defensive play, the big sack, does the defense let down a little bit? And that's
just a little bit, but that was a well-conceived, well-designed play. You saw Calloway, who's pumping his arm in triumph right there, number 11. He came in motion back towards the center of the field, and he turned it up, and he actually was a blocking back. He took on one of the Lane Tech defenders and almost put him on his back, and that allowed Lance Bonner to break into the end zone for the touchdown, and Mount Carmel is now on top, 19-14. And now a question, maybe they want to go for 2.
Dennis, what do you see down there on the sideline?
They're definitely going for 2 right now. With 19 points, they want to try to get that extra 2 points to give them 21.
And they've moved the ball as a result of that way over here to the left side of the field, or the side nearest to you, as you see, off the hash mark. And they want that wide side to work on. There goes Danko.
Johnson's wide open.
Oh, and he dropped the ball. Well thrown ball by Danko. Chris Spade was on the coverage. And those extra points that Mount Carmel has missed could very well turn out to be critical as this game winds down. The score is 19-14. Mount Carmel leads. There's 7:27 to go in the third quarter.
Look who's coming.
It's the big cheese. Hail to the cheese-ums, the big cheese of potato chips. Here come the cheese-ums, the big cheese is here.
Pringles Cheese-ums. With so much cheese flavor and tangy spices, you get one big cheese taste.
Oh, but it's the big cheese!
Put out your hand and lick your lips for the big cheese taste of potato chips. Hail to the cheese-ums, the big cheese is here.
MasterCard, fill my flat.
MasterCard International. So worldly, so welcome.
Your taste is impeccable.
MasterCard.
Home is where the card is.
International.
19-14, Mount Carmel over Lane Tech. In the otherworldly realm of high school football, as Mount Carmel has surged ahead here with a couple of quick scores in the third quarter. And here comes the Caravan kickoff. It's going to be received on the run by Popovich. And he brings it up in pretty good shape, up to about the 33-yard line. And we've got some exciting action ahead, right, Dennis Green?
Absolutely. This is going to be probably the most key drive of the day for Lane Tech, simply because their defense is starting to get worn down a little bit. It's going to be important for them to control the ball, get the ball, if not in the scoring position, at least in midfield. Watch for key first down plays.
All right. That last drive was 3 plays, 47 yards. The big one, of course, was that long run by DeMar White on the shovel pass.
I'm surprised it took that long, 1 minute and 1 second. It seemed like it was lightning strike.
Yeah, it was. All right, Lane Tech with a first down carry for Chris Spade, who gets the first down call. Dan Zurek helped out on the tackle. A lot of people, Mike, if you can recall that shovel pass, they figure, hey, that's a dangerous play. You just flip the ball ahead right there in all that traffic. But if it's knocked down, it's merely an incomplete pass.
That's right.
So it's not really that dangerous at all, and it's very effective. You can hide that from the linebackers as they're dropping back into their zones.
Gain of 3 for Cochran. It is now 2nd and 7 for Lane Tech. Ball at their own 36-yard line. 6:38 to go here, third quarter. The fake and the pitch to Chris Spade, number 40.
He's got trouble. Bill Nolan leading the charge for the Mount Carmel defense. And Dennis was talking about Lane Tech being worn down a little bit. Spade's been going both ways, Mike, defense and offense. And he looks like he is a little bit numb right now as he lost about a yard on the play.
He was talking about their defensive line, too, and they have a lot of their small people like Bart Kirkwood, who's 5'6", and Scott Majeski, the center, who's actually playing both ways today. He's only 5'7". So indeed, it could be getting worn out a little bit.
It's very tough. Mount Carmel doesn't go both ways. They get their kids in on platoon basis. Here's O'Hara under pressure, trying to get out of the pocket. He's being hounded, and he's knocked down from behind. Curtis McKinney made the tackle from behind, and Curtis McKinney the tackle from in front. As O'Hara is stopped about 5 yards short of the first down. 4th and 5. So the key possession Dennis Green talked about did not come out in Lane Tech's favor, and they have to give the ball away. You look for a fake here?
Not with this much time remaining in the game. They need a Lane Tech. Don Cochran will kick the ball to Callaway back there, and they need to. Lane Tech defense needs to stop him.
Boy, that center of theirs is really sharp with that snap. Callaway's going to take the punt, and he fumbles! He fumbles, and he picks it up, and then he's pushed down immediately by Popovich, who was down there leading the coverage. And every time, if you don't know who the Lane Tech guy is in on the play, you just say Popovich, and you'd probably be right.
50% of the time you are.
Well, he was on top of that play. Fortunately for Mount Carmel, as you watch Callaway mishandle the ball, but it bounces right back to him. Right there. And you see Popovich slide on that turf, Mike. It is still slick out there, even though it hasn't rained in a while.
especially at the south end of the field. Very slick down on this side of the hash marks, the right side of the hash marks, as you look at it.
I know our cameras can't readily see it, but there's been as much toilet paper flying around this stadium so far today as we see in the entire Delsey factory. But whatever keeps them occupied. Here goes Callaway, who's occupying the Lane Tech defense with about a 3-yard pickup. Rudy Salinas helping out there with the stop on an ankle tackle.
Little wing reverse there. Lance Bonner gets the fake, and Callaway cuts it back up inside.
He picked up only 1 on the play, and now it's 2nd and 9. Ball on the 18-yard line. Garrett trying to fire up his Lane Tech teammates on defense. If they can stuff Carmel here and get that good field position, all they have to do is score a touchdown. They're back in the lead. It's 19-14 with 4:18 to go in the 3rd quarter. Dank with a straight drop on the blitz is Garrett. He's got him and drops him for a big loss back on the 4-yard line. Well, Garrett got his teammates fired up, and he got himself fired up, too. What a great charge.
And good coverage by the secondary. Spade was one-on-one with Chris Callaway. And here's a look at Garrett. Great charge, that great quickness Coach Dennis Green was so looking at so highly, and why he's a top-rated college prospect.
He lost 7 yards on the play, Danko did, and now we're looking at 3rd and 17. As they marked the ball on about the 11, obviously you saw where he wound up on the ground, but they marked the ball from where contact was made between the tackler and the tacklee.
3rd down and 17 now. Danko
playing it safe with Bonner on the drive. Nice running by Lance Bonner, and he almost broke it. That was just a straight conservative up-front dive, and Bonner almost broke it out for a long 1st down.
And you know who made the save? Les O'Hara, number 12. If it's not Popovich, it's Les O'Hara.
That's right. Well, they
or
have
Billy Garrett. And there's Garrett, a good idea. Him stuffing up the, he stuffed up the inside, and actually Bonner had the presence of mind to bounce it back out.
He apparently dropped the ball, but Mount Carmel maintained possession, and now they'll punt it away. Yeah, Lane Tech has a couple of real outstanding individuals that are being called upon to do it all. Mount Carmel's people don't have to play both ways because they have so much more depth. Nice kick, and Popovich wants a fair catch. And he gets it on about his own 42-yard line. So Lane Tech has another chance to get back into this ball game. Actually, they're in the game. They have a chance to take the lead, and they'll try to do so when we come back.
Not again.
Going somewhere? Then don't forget to take along the Sony Slimline Watchman. The super small TV with a tremendous Sony picture. Once again, it seems Sony truly deserves a great big hand.
Tonight's movie will be Monkey Business.
The Sony Slimline Watchman available at JCPenney.
No matter what you do this holiday season, you'll want to stop and take time out for Highland's Holiday Sale with some of the lowest prices of the year, like this Sony Betamax video recorder with remote control, just $196, save $103, and this Litton Touch microwave oven with 10 power levels, only $177. Highland's Holiday Sale ends Monday night, so don't be left out in the cold.
Mike Adamley along with Tim Weigel back here at the Prep Bowl at Soldier Field with Mount Carmel holding a 19-14 lead. Dennis Green will go to in a second after this play. Lane Tech needs another drive here.
Dennis Green was making the earlier point that Lane Tech is so much smaller, and that might have an effect overall, but size doesn't matter on that play as Milovan Popovich tackled by Bill Nolan, but not until Popovich had about a 12 or 13-yard pickup and a 1st down into Mount Carmel territory.
You know, the interesting thing is I wonder what factor Bill Garrett's sack had to do with the offense coming out and having a good 1st down play. There's no doubt it charged up this entire sideline. And again, Bill Garrett makes a big play. Popovich makes a big play. The key players are doing it all out here.
They sure are. And those are the guys. O'Hara and Popovich and Garrett. And they got a pretty good supporting cast, too. They're hanging in there. They got a 1st and 10 now on Mount Carmel's 44. O'Hara dropping back to Popovich again, but he's not going to get anything on this play. Fine coverage by Terry Ward and Curtis McKinney. A real good attacking defense by Mount Carmel. They've always prided themselves on good defense down there. You don't have a good team without a good defense. That's the key. Use the word key a lot, but that's the key factor.
You know, 2 first-down pass plays are important. Even though the second only got a yard, the key is they're not allowing Mount Carmel to think they're going to run the ball every down on first down.
Well, let's see if that opens it up in the inside for Cochran a little bit. He has been not a factor so far. To give inside to Spade, who slips one tackler. But he's brought down by a couple of Caravan tacklers after about a 3-yard pickup. John Pope, the linebacker, second-team All-Catholic, was involved in the stop. 1:11 to go. They're down by 5, and the fans have really come alive. The Indians have one last chance to pull out the prep ball. Well, I thought he had it here, Mike.
Callaway gives it his all, but Derek Faulkner, number 34, the man who just kept his poise, didn't take any of Chris's fakes, made the stop short of the first down. So here we go.
And the clock is running. You're right. Faulkner was more of a key performer there than Garrett, although Garrett was in on the tackle. Now here's O'Hara. He's under immediately. Dumped. He's dropped. Oh, my goodness, what a rush by John Sawicki. Boy, does that take the wind out of the Lane Tech sails. And now there goes the last timeout. Look at him.
Yes, O'Hara just never had a chance, and
he split the guard in the center and just whipped him. Now he's been out there.
Scott Majeski, number 74, the Lane Tech center, has been playing both ways. You know he's got to be exhausted. He's got 2 guys on his nose, and he just can't hold them all off.
And Sawicki was sitting over on the sidelines, resting up, watching his offense work, and he came back in raring to go, and he was raring to go. What a key sack. 11-yard loss, and now it really looks tough.
And maybe that's really been one of the big difference between the Catholic League and Public League over the years. They can't afford to put that much more time and effort into their programs. They do seem to have more depth every year than the Public League schools. And it's certainly shown in the 4th quarter here this afternoon between Lane and Carmel.
It has been a difference, that's true. Mount Carmel has an incredibly sophisticated program, and they're very proud of it. They've got a lot of assistant coaches who could be head coaches anywhere. These guys really know their football. And Lane Tech's got a great staff, too, but the resources are certainly not quite what they are in the Catholic League. Just the same, they put up a great job here. 19-14 is the score. And they have absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. Second down at about 21. O'Hara on the straight drop. Sawicki is in on him again, and the ball is underthrown. Spade cannot handle it. That's what you got to do, is run the screen or the draw. But there again, Sawicki was in on him so quickly he couldn't even get the screen pass off.
And it's easy for the defensive linemen to pull their ears back and just tee off because they know that Les O'Hara has to throw. It is now 3rd down and 17, 49 seconds remaining, and we're talking miracle time now.
Dennis Green, what do you call?
Well, I tell you, the thing that's really hurt him so far at Lane Tech is that Mount Carmel's going to an overshifted defense, and that's why Sawicki's able to get through there the 2 times. He's splitting the guard in the center, and that gives penetration. Right now, you want to get that first down. It's got to be a pass play over the middle, and again, they just got to keep a couple extra guys in, I believe.
Well, he goes for the draw play. Spade with a game effort, but he just didn't have quite enough. And with 40 seconds to go, it's now 4th down and about 12. And one of the lanes of Spade is shaken up, and that stops the clock. I'm not surprised that Chris Spade is hurt because he's played a lot of football today, and he's real tired. And his team is facing 37 seconds left in the game and a 5-point deficit. There's Spade's stats, 38 yards in 10 carries. But really, Mount Carmel, Mike, has completely stuffed the Lane Tech rushing attack. They haven't really been able to get much going.
Especially here in the second half. And again, I think it has to do a little bit with Dennis was talking about. They have that shifting up front defense.
And I wonder if anybody's in the luxury suites over there.
Watching the luxury boxes?
Yeah, the bare luxury boxes.
I saw a couple of families walk up here earlier.
I mean, they're entitled to, right? I mean,
sure,
you're entitled to any event here at Soldier Field. There they are. Hi there, fans. Yes. Well, that's the new veneer on Old Soldier Field. I know nobody's sitting over in that section where the girder cracked at the last Bear game.
Guarantee you they weren't there when Bill de Coravant played here in the Prep Bowl.
Bill de Coravant. They had, what, 130,000 for that game? Austin High School and Bill McCormick. Here goes Chris Spade's okay. Dennis Green, who was in that game with Austin? Was that Mount Carmel?
I am not sure about that. All I know is that I heard it as a legendary game. Great crowd and a great football game.
You weren't even a twinkle in your mother's eye yet.
Wait a minute. I think it was 1937, Austin 26, Leo nothing. That's my guess.
Now, someone else told me Fenwick, so I don't know.
No, it's Leo. I'll bet you big dough on it because I got the record right in front of me. And you're down there on the sideline. All right, here it is on the field. Last play of the game for Lane Tech, unless they can hit a big one. O'Hara runs out of room. Throws the ball downfield. He's got his receiver, and he's out of bounds, and it's a first down. It's Popovich, of course. 13 seconds to go. Oh, my goodness. My goodness, as Hawk Harrelson would say. First down, 13 seconds to go.
Great players make great things happen when the games are on the line. This one's not over by any stretch of the imagination. Watch Les O'Hara. He avoids the rush of Ardrell Mannings and finds Popovich, who has been Mr. Big Play for Lane Tech all afternoon, to keep the drive alive. There's still a chance. 13 seconds left.
Now the clock is rolling. O'Hara throws it out of bounds to Ray Kalma for a small pickup of about 4 yards. Oh, my. 8 seconds to go. They're still a long way from a touchdown, though. They've got 63 yards to go.
And they got to go to the vertical passing game, needless to say.
Yeah.
Throw it long and hope for a miracle.
But at least they stopped the clock. That was important. Well, Dennis, it looks like they got to go for the old tip drill, right? Like they got on that first score?
Absolutely. Put it up. But I tell you, you cannot believe the confidence that O'Hara has when he was rolling out to the left to find that open man. He thinks he can do it.
Oh, he missed a block. Now he's under pressure. And he threw the ball away. No time left on the clock. I think that's the football game. It is. It is. It's all over. Mount Carmel, Prep Bowl champions of 1985 with a 19-14 victory over Lane Tech. Mike, they went out fighting, didn't they?
Just look at the exuberation at the center of the field. Mount Carmel players win their second Prep Bowl since 1983. Back when they beat Simeon. Today, Lane Tech is the conquered foe, but Lane Tech did just an amazing job of fighting all the way.
They did. They lost this game in a similar fashion the way they lost the Gordon Tech game. It was close fought all the way, and in the end, the Catholic League horsepower and firepower just a little bit overwhelming as they wore them down toward the end of the game. This is what we like to see, too. These are bitter foes, and they fought a very tough game. But the handshakes afterwards, and there's a lot of mutual respect.
Credit to both coaches, Mount Carmel's Frank Lenti, Lane Tech, Sam Bronswck. Both of them did a great job preparing their men for this game.
Well, I'm very impressed with both coaching staffs, and I know you feel the same way, Dennis Green.
Absolutely. I tell you, both coaches did a great job of preparing their teams, and I guess the key factor was the depth in the second half when Mount Carmel was able to make up that 7-point deficit with 3 key starters out of the ball game.
Well, Lane Tech gave us everything we wanted, and so did Mount Carmel. There's Sam Bronswck, the coach of Lane Tech, will be back next year. Maybe not in the Prep Bowl, but he'll be back with a very strong team. Mike, it was a very great game. Well, it was a good game. It was a lot of fun to be here and a lot of fun to be a part of it.
I enjoyed it immensely, and I think both Lane Tech and Mount Carmel are going to be powers next year.
And there they are, Frank Lenti and Sam Bronswck, fitting climax to a beautiful 1985 Prep Bowl game. Once again, the Prep Bowl champion, Mount Carmel, by a score of 19-14 over Lane Tech. For Dennis Green, for Mike Adamle, for everybody at Channel 7, I'm Tim Weigel. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend.
You don't get to be the biggest beer in America unless you make a great beer. And making a great beer isn't easy. That's why when it comes to better brewing, there's only one beer that can beat the biggest. A beer that's fully kreuzned for natural carbonation and smoothness, and brewed with pure artesian brewing water. Heileman's Old Style from La Crosse, Wisconsin. Old Style, America's best brewed premium beer.
Program on Channel 7 in progress.
Has thrown 3 touchdown passes today, 37 in his career, already more than Spurrier.
Million wrists. Armatron. Watches so beautifully made, so incredibly priced, it has quietly become the second largest watch company in America. Armatron, the revolutionary movement in watches.
WFYR is fire. FM. Move to fire. It's hot. WFYR.
Channel 2, WBBM TV, Chicago. Bill Curtis, Walter Jacobson, John Coughlin, and Johnny Morris with Chicago's #1 news. Channel 2, the 10 o'clock news.
Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev, 2 of the most powerful men in the world, opening the first superpower summit in 6 years with a handshake. The stakes are high, with the summit covering arms control, human rights, and world peace. Good evening. Day 1 of the summit in Geneva is now history, and it appears that things went pretty well.
So well, in fact, Walter, that aides for both sides tonight are indicating the talks may be extended for a 3rd day by popular demand. Chat about the frigid weather of Geneva and jet lag. Reagan and Gorbachev then met for a total of 4 hours during the morning and afternoon. Half the time was spent in private, far more than was scheduled.
Because whoever was scheduling didn't allow enough time.
Well, the duration of this or that function or meeting is determined primarily by the President and the General Secretary themselves.
Is it a good sign?
I would think so.
While Reagan and Gorbachev bargained over the table, one agreement did emerge, a total news blackout on the talks.
Those who talk don't know what's going on, and those who know what's going on won't talk.
I am not going to answer on the substance of the talks.
The White House did release photos of a private meeting between Reagan and Gorbachev, and CBS News is reporting that Reagan talked mostly about his personal feelings on how to reduce fear between the 2 countries. There is late word of a flap in Geneva involving the President's Chief of Staff, Donald Regan. He is being criticized for telling a reporter that most women will not understand the issues at stake in the summit because they are more interested in the personalities and human interest angles of the meeting.
And he made those comments on the very day that the 2 first ladies had a summit meeting to talk about. Nancy Reagan hosted Raisa Gorbachev at tea at the mansion where the Reagans are staying. It was the first meeting in more than 10 years between the American and the Soviet first ladies. They talked about their husbands and said both men want the same thing. Gorbachev met with another American today, believe this or not, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who presented the Soviet leader with a petition from U.S. citizens with 1 million signatures calling for a halt to nuclear testing and the arms race. Jackson also asked Gorbachev about Jews in the Soviet Union and about human rights. Jackson says that Gorbachev praised Jews who live in Russia, calling them good citizens, but he sidestepped the question on human rights.
Some of those petitions that Jesse Jackson delivered to Gorbachev were signed by people who live here in the Chicago area. I spoke with a few of them tonight and asked them how they felt now the petitions were delivered and about the hopes they had for the summit.
I was glad to see that General Secretary Gorbachev did accept the petitions, and I don't think there is much potential for manipulation by the Soviets.
I'm very proud to have signed the petition, and I'm very proud to fight against insanity. It makes me feel alive. I hope it makes Gorbachev and Reagan feel alive to be there, and I expect a lot from them.
The most important thing that can come out of this summit would be a test ban treaty on
testing nuclear weapons.
They also discounted criticism that Jackson may have gone to Geneva seeking publicity for himself, as did many of the media criticized Jesse Jackson for trying to upstage the president. They said his ability to draw the media could only help the cause of nuclear disarmament.
Poor Jesse Jackson. Every time the man opens his mouth, he is accused of that, right? Rain and high winds, in case you haven't been outside to notice it, and falling temperatures are teaming up at this hour to make it a very rough night indeed. Illinois State Police are advising drivers to take it easy and drive well below the posted speed limits. The roads are slick due to the heavy rains, and some are even closed because of flooding. It's all being caused by the wettest November in history of Chicago, 7.65 inches of rain. But as our Jim Avila reports, many southern suburbs, normally plagued by high water, are high and dry tonight.
If you look hard enough, you can find flooding in the south suburbs. This 2-block area of Chicago Heights is under 2 feet of water from heavy rains and backed up sewers. And then there's the now closed westbound lanes of Interstate 80 at the Indiana-Illinois border, where rainwater was blown by strong winds onto the pavement. But in the flood-plagued streets of Lansing and Calumet City, there is no water tonight. This new dike is the reason why the streets and basements of both Cal City and Lansing are still dry tonight. The terrible floods of the early 80s forced these communities to spend millions of dollars in building these dikes. Nearly every year, the Little Calumet River spills its banks and floods the neighborhoods, leaving the residents to bail and then finally evacuate. 1985 is different, though, because of these dikes, built with $15 million in federal money.
It's been raining for 3 weeks. The ground is now totally saturated. There's nowhere else for this water to go.
Without this dike, what would have happened?
Without this dike, we'd have flooded this area.
The Little Calumet is at flood stage now, but is still 6 feet below the new dike, under the watchful eyes of Cal City residents tired of pumping water from their basements year after year.
I don't have nothing today, but in 81 I had 6 feet.
Oh, the dike is working. The dike will work up to a certain with our pumping station and everything else. Oh, definitely. That's fantastic. That what they've done and the money. Right now, our basements would probably be overflowing already.
The Metropolitan Sanitary District is saying tonight that because of the last 3 weeks of steady rain, the deep tunnel is now completely full. District officials are hoping for a break in the weather so they can pump the water through sewage plants and into the state waterway system tomorrow. And Walter, we just got word that the westbound lanes of Interstate 80, the Indiana-Illinois border, are now reopened. And they've cleared the roadway there.
And we thought nothing could fill up the deep tunnel. The man who murdered 7-year-old Melissa Ackerman and a Kane County nurse has been sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole. 29-year-old Brian Dugan pleaded guilty today to kidnapping, sexual assault, and murder in the death of Ackerman last summer. The body of the Somonauk girl was found in a drainage ditch. Dugan also pleaded guilty to the murder last year of 27-year-old Donna Schnorr of Kane County. As part of a plea bargain, Dugan escapes a possible death penalty.
I would like to have seen him dead June 2nd when he did this to her, but it's not going to happen. Our society has them protected, and it just wouldn't happen.
Of course, this isn't enough. There's no punishment great enough for this.
Authorities say the Schnorr case will not have been resolved without the plea bargain confession from Dugan.
There is a